Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of TrueGameData. So today we're going to be going over all the new patch notes. There was a big patch that came out today for weapon balance as well as some gameplay changes. So I'm going to go through one by one and talk about all the changes, how they affect the meta. I just got done with a live stream this morning at twitch.tv/TrueGameData Live where I was testing all these changes to make sure that they were correct and getting the full damage profile, because they don't give all the information in the patch notes, they just give some of it. So I had to get all the info from testing, and I've got everything finished now. So I'm going to cover all of it in the video, one by one, and we'll also get the website updated so we can see the new values and TTK charts and things like that. But as always, if you guys like the content, you like the website, consider dropping a sub, a like, comment. Helps us grow and helps us keep the website live. So always appreciated. But let's jump into it and talk about the changes from the May 7th update. All right, real quickly before I jump into the actual video, I want to talk about something cool that we're going to do tomorrow. So I've been organizing a charity stream for quite a while now. Our cause is going to be the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I think a lot of people struggle with mental health issues, and I just think it's something that needs to be supported. So tomorrow, May 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to start streaming, and I'm going to do a 24-hour stream. And I've also... It's not just my stream, it's a community stream. So I've got all kinds of people participating, bunch of streamers. We've got it all set up to really be this big community thing. And I'm really hoping we can make a big difference. So, you know, J-God's participating, Drifter's participating. We got a lot of big names in there. It's going to be really cool. So yeah, tomorrow I'm doing a 24-hour stream. I'll have everything set up so you can go check out all these other streamers if you want to. We're all kind of just doing our own stream. We will be playing together some, but obviously I can't play with 25 people. So it's basically just all of our community's charity stream, and it's going to be awesome. Hoping to raise a lot. So if you want to support, just come out tomorrow sometime, May 8th to May 9th, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm doing a 24-hour stream. Hope to see you guys there. But let's get back into the video now and show you all the changes from the patch. All right, so before I jump into the actual weapon changes, I'm just going to go through the patch notes real fast. So we got... gameplay, the street sweeper was removed from ground loot, removed from supply boxes. That's amazing. Thank you so much for doing this, Raven. That was the most frustrating thing on the planet. It was very, very annoying to get killed by street sweepers all the time, especially when you had loadout guns and somebody was just sitting in a corner with a street sweeper. So that's awesome. Weapon changes. The AMAX, they reduced the damage slightly. I've got the full damage profile taken from my testing stream this morning. The FARA 83, the headshot damage was decreased. And the ADS movement speed was also decreased. So I think this is an okay change. We'll talk more about that when we get into it. But I think the FARA and the AMAX both are still in a good spot. Not a huge nerf, but nice to see them balancing stuff out a little bit. And then the street sweeper, I'm not really going to cover this. Not a lot of people were using the street sweeper before. It was really good, but it just... The double AR meta made it kind of hard to use a shotgun just because you didn't have any range with your secondary. So it's nice to see them nerf the street sweeper a little bit, because I know it was really, really good up close, but I'm not really going to cover the street sweeper just because I don't cover shotguns very often. And then for submachine guns, the Bullfrog got a nice nerf in terms of damage, but the damage range was increased. So we'll talk about this when we get to the actual numbers, but this is overall, I wouldn't say this is a nerf. I'd say this is almost a buff even, really, to be honest. So increase in movement speed, and for some reason they also made it have better sprint to fire times, which is really weird because there's no other SMG that has different sprint to fire times, but for some reason now the Bullfrog has even faster sprint to fire times. But yeah, the Bullfrog's in a great spot now. It was already in a great spot, but it's maybe even a little bit better now. PPSh, they increased the damage range by 4% and almost entirely removed the open bolt delay, so this is really nice. That makes it much more viable. And then for attachment changes, I put out a video a few days ago on the bullet velocity of the combat recon barrels being lower than it used to be. They've now rebuffed it a little bit, and we'll talk about all these numbers. I measured all the bullet velocities today for all the different sniper rifles from Cold War. And they also made the idle sway not quite as bad with the combat recon barrel. And something else about this too, I'll talk about when we talk about idle sway for the Cold War snipers. I don't know what this means. They increased the optic behavior, they improved the optic behavior for the Cold War AK-47. I don't know what that means exactly. I had nothing to compare to, so I can't really speak to that. And then a really big change was a huge nerf to all the ADS movement and firing movement speed stocks. So the Raider stock, KGB stock, SAS combat, Spetsnaz stock, all of those got really, really big nerfs in terms of movement speed and how much they affected your shooting movement speed. And this is something I've been really hoping they would do for a long time. This is all that needed to happen to bring back the submachine gun meta. Like in the past couple months, we've been fully 2AR meta because the FFAR had that insane TTK, had the Raider stock, so that gave it really good sprint to fire time and insane mobility when shooting. Like literally more mobility than the SMGs by far. And then that kind of carried over a little bit even after the FFAR nerf. We had the the FARA and the Cold War AK and the XM4 all had the same insane movement speed because of that Raider stock, Raider pad. So thankfully they've nerfed that significantly at this point, which really, really makes a big difference, and it's going to bring back SMGs into the meta for sure. So I'm very happy to see that. I don't really have any numbers or anything for that right now. I had some ADS firing movement speeds, but it's just a really hard thing to measure. But I'm not really going to cover numbers for that. But it has been changed, and it's a great change for the game, so I'm very happy to see that. All right, first up, let's talk about the AMAX changes. So I've tested the damage profile. It says they changed the minimum damage from 32 to 31, but obviously they changed more than that. So I've got on the right here, this is the pre-nerf AMAX. These are both on the site. You can compare them yourself if you want. So the first damage drop-off is exactly the same, except we found that it was 1 meter further in our testing today. So it went from, the old drop-off was at 24 meters, now it's 25 meters. Whether or not that was just a mistake and we were 1 meter off in the past, or if it actually got changed, I don't know. But either way, it's 25 meters currently. But the second damage drop-off actually did change. So it used to be 51 to the head, 38 to the chest, 32 stomach, 32 extremities. Now it is 49 head, 36 chest, 31 stomach, 31 extremities. So that doesn't seem like a big change. But if you actually look at the TTK charts, if we go headshots first, the orange is the new AMAX, and the magenta pink is the old AMAX. So you can see that the TTK now, at that first drop-off, now does have a drop-off that's about 125 milliseconds slower. So it's not a huge difference. The gun's still going to be really good, really competitive. I think overall it's a good change. This is just for headshots. So let's jump over to chest shots real fast. This is 250 health. So chest shots, the TTK didn't change anywhere. So the TTK is exactly the same if you had all chest shots as it was before. But stomach also now has a TTK drop-off at that 25 meters. Again, that's a good thing. I mean, the gun was good. And this isn't like a huge nerf. It's a very, very small difference. But it will make a difference. And I think it just brings it basically into line with a lot of the guns. So puts it in a good spot. Extremities is the same story. It has that same damage drop off at 25 meters that now actually does hurt the TTK. All right, next up we got the FARA 83. So they reduced the headshot damage and reduced the base ADS movement speed. So let's go look at the actual tested numbers. So starting with damage profile on the left, we have the pre-nerf FARA. It did 46 to the head the first drop off and 39 to the head second drop off. So 46, 39. And now after the update, it does 40, 35. So this brought it more in line with the other guns. I think it was a good change. I don't really think the FARA was overpowered, but it was one of the better guns. I'm not sure if it really needed a nerf or a change, but I do think it was one of the, the best gun or one of the best guns in the game for a lot of situations. So I think what they've done with this patch is really brought a lot of things into line, so you can really use a lot of different guns. Now you already could, but now even more so. I think they really line stuff up more. And then the other change was the ADS movement speed. Before it was 2.45 meters per second. Now it's 2.31. So again, small change, but it's something. All right, so the Bullfrog, they reduced the maximum damage from 34 to 32. So that changed the whole damage profile. We'll talk about that. Increased the damage range. Base movement speed increased by 1%. This does some interesting things, so we'll talk about that. Sprint out speed was increased by 13%. So basically that means the sprint to fire time was decreased by 13%. Don't know why they did this, but they did. So we'll talk about that here too. Jump over to the website. All right, so for the Bullfrog changes, we got start with damage profile. So in the first damage drop off, headshots went from 55 down to 50. Chest shots went from 34 down to 31. Stomach went from 34 to 31. And extremities went from 30 to 28. The damage drop off was extended by a couple meters. So now it's out at 15 meters for the first drop off. If we go to that first drop off, you'll see headshot went from 40 down to 39. Chest shot went from 25 to 24. Stomach from 25 to 24. Extremities from 22 to 21. So all one damage reduction there. And then for the last drop off, headshot went from 32 down to 31, and then chest, stomach, and extremities are the same. Before it had this 1 damage drop off out at range at 26 meters or more for extremities. It just went from 18 to 17 at extremities. I don't know why that's there. We just actually got an interesting tweet from Raven literally as I'm making this video, basically saying that there's some funny hitbox stuff going on. So if you go look at this tweet, we look at this tweet, because of how we handle locational multipliers, some of the damage outputs you're looking for or looking at may deviate from what you'd expect. I'm assuming this is what all those weird one-off things are that we find. So obviously I'll be trying to figure this out, but I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. I just haven't really had time to look into it. But we'll see. I'm going to keep trying to figure out what they're talking about here. It could just be next shot multipliers that they're talking about. I'm not sure. We know about that because they mentioned it in patch notes, but not positive. But anyway, let's go over the TTK charts for the Bullfrog. These damage changes actually change the TTK quite a bit. So the Bullfrog, the new Bullfrog is the magenta color here, and the old Bullfrog is orange. This is 250 health chest shots. Let's go to headshots real fast. Headshot TTK is the same, except at range. But the DPS is going to be worse because the actual damage values go down, but the fire rate's the same. It just didn't change the shots to kill on the head. And then chest is what we were just on. So Bullfrog's quite a bit slower there on the chest. Jump to stomach. Stomach's quite a bit slower again than it was before, which is unfortunate. I don't think it needed to be hit that hard. And then extremities is the same. Again, the DPS is lower because the damage values have been reduced, but the shots to kill are the same. So I don't know. I think the TTKs got hit a little bit hard. One thing that they did change, they reduced the sprint to fire time. I mentioned this earlier. It went from 217 and 117 for tactical sprint to fire, and sprint to fire down to 200 and 100. I don't know why that was changed. That's a weird change to me. They also increased the movement speed. So the movement speed went from 4.88 meters per second to 4.92 meters per second. And that means that if you remember my old video where I talked about the fastest movement in Warzone, which was the Mach 10 with the patrol grip, that got up to 7.57 meters per second sprint speed. And the second fastest thing was fists, which was 7.5 meters per second sprint speed. And now the third fastest thing in the game is the Bullfrog with the patrol grip and the Tiger Team flashlight. So that gets up to like 7.41 meters per second or something like that. So it's really close. And it's a very, very fast gun now. So it's an interesting change. I think, I don't know. I don't think it needed that much of a TTK hit on chest and stomach shots. But it's not bad. It's still 640 milliseconds. So it's still pretty quick, but it's interesting. I think what they said in their patch notes is good. It wasn't really a nerf. It was kind of a buff and a nerf in different regions. So it makes it more of an SMG because it has better movement and stuff, but the TTKs did get quite a bit worse. All right, and last up, the PPSh. So they increased the damage range by 4% and decreased the open bolt delay by 80%. So I tested the open bolt delay and I couldn't really see one anymore. So I think it's just so small that it's not even really noticeable, even at 240 FPS. It's maybe like one frame, something like that. One frame at 240 FPS, which is just so minimal, it's almost not even worth talking about. So you can basically consider it like there's no open bolt delay. So going over to the TTK charts to see how that open bolt delay removal changes it. We've got the new PPSh with the magenta color, the old PPSh with the orange color. The Bullfrog is cyan, and then the green is the Modern Warfare MP5. I just threw some on there so we had something to compare to. So this is 250 health chest shots. Modern Warfare MP5 kills the fastest, followed by the PPSh. And then followed by the Bullfrog, then followed by the pre-buff PPSh with when it still had the open bolt delay. And it also has tons of range. So the range is now out at 17 meters for the PPSh. That's pretty good, actually. Let's look at headshots. So headshots, the Bullfrog still kills easily the fastest. Modern Warfare MP5 is second, and then PPSh, and then pre-nerf or pre-buff PPSh is last, obviously, just because it's going to be slower because of that open bolt delay. Let's go look at stomach. PPSh now is pretty good, actually. It beats the Bullfrog again on stomach shots and only loses to the Modern Warfare MP5. Then if we look at extremities, the Bullfrog is going to take over the PPSh on extremities by a little bit. But still, the Bullfrog is beaten by the Modern Warfare MP5, so really just put those on there so we had something to compare to. But the PPSh is not in a bad spot now that it's got that open bolt delay removed. That basically just decreases the TTK by a flat 60 milliseconds across the board, which is great. And we got a little more range, so makes it a much more competitive option now. All right, so I think that does it for the actual base gun changes. Next up, we are going to talk about the combat recon barrel changes for the snipers. So I talked about this at the start of the video, but they said they increased the multiplier for bullet velocity and decreased the aim sway. We got more to talk about for the aim sway as well. So we'll jump into that in here in a second, but I wanted to mention I'm probably going to make a video more on, rather than just going over the changes and kind of giving general thoughts, I'll kind of do an updated meta video in the next couple days to talk about how I think these big changes affect the game and where the best guns are, what they are, and things like that. So this video is more just to go over the actual numbers, and then I talked a little bit about where things stand, but I'll give a much better picture of the best guns and builds and things like that in the coming days after this. But yeah, let's jump into these bullet velocities barrels. All right, so let's real quickly talk about the bullet velocity changes to the combat recon barrel and how that affects the Cold War snipers. So I've got the old bullet velocity on the left and then the new bullet velocity that I measured on the right. You can see that LW3 went from 1130 to 1176, so it's still not back to where it used to be. It used to be at around 1250. The Swiss is up about 45 meters per second from 900 to 945. Pellington's up from 967 to 1010, so that's about the same as the Car 98. M82 is at 815, or went from 815 to 875, and surprisingly the ZRG, even though the ZRG didn't get hit with the stealth nerf that we didn't know about, it's still got the buff today, so it's all the way up around 1285. It's somewhere between like 1270 and 1300. It's moving so fast that it's hard for me, even at 500 meters, to get a perfectly accurate reading, but I can tell you it's the fastest of all the snipers, no question now. And I'm gonna make a video on the ZRG very, very soon. I think it's, like, without question the best sniper in the game right now after some changes recently. Not just this change, but a couple other changes too, so we'll talk about that in the video coming up. But yeah, these are the bullet velocity changes. They said they reduced the penalty for the aiming sway of the combat recon barrel, and I'm assuming that's true. I mean, it doesn't look a whole lot different to me, but I can't really test from before the patch. But because of that, I went and tested the airborne elastic and the bruiser grip, and on stream I made a mistake and I said that they actually worked now, and upon testing after stream, I'm pretty sure they still don't work. I just went and tested again before I made this video, and it doesn't look like they do anything for aim sway, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they get that working soon, because that'd be really nice to have for the Cold War snipers. But either way, I like to see this change. It brings the snipers back more in line with where they should have been. I don't know why they got nerfed down so low, but yeah, like I said, I'll be making a ZRG video very soon. All right, everybody, like I talked about earlier in the video, I'm not really going to go over anything for the stocks. I mean, I could show you guys what it looks like and stuff. Maybe I'll do that later, but for this video, just know that these things are true, and it really brings back the SMG meta, dramatically reducing the ADS firing movement speed multiplier for the assault rifles. Just really brings the SMG meta back, so I'm really happy about this change. And like I said, I'll maybe cover it in a later video, like actual visual comparisons between SMGs and ARs now. But for now, I think I've covered everything I wanted to do in this video. Went through all the weapon changes, all the barrel changes. Like I said, I'll go over the weapon changes and how it actually affects the meta a lot more in coming videos in the coming days. But for now, I think I gave a good overview of how things work, and everything's on the site now. You can look at the pre and post change values. I left everything on there so you can see all of it, and go play with it yourself and compare everything yourself. But as always, if you guys like the content, consider dropping that sub, like, comment. Helps us grow, helps us keep the website up, helps us keep the website up to date. But I appreciate all you guys for watching and all the support as always. And remember, tomorrow we've got that charity stream. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. May 8th, 10 a.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/TrueGameData live, starting the charity stream for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's something that I think is really important and affects me personally, so I think it's just a really good cause to support, and we've got a lot of awesome streamers that are helping us out. So be sure to come in and help support yet tomorrow if you can. I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope you guys all have a great day and have fun with the new Warzone changes.